The moment you become harder to guilt, their behavior changes fast, and it tells on them. Not because you became cruel, but because their favorite door into you just started closing. That confused feeling you get afterward is usually the trap, not proof you did anything wrong. They don't always explode first. Sometimes they get sweeter, sadder, quieter, or suddenly deeply misunderstood. And if you miss what that shift means, you can walk straight back into control. By the end, you'll hear exactly how guilt loses power and what manipulators do next. Because once they realize shame no longer moves you, they start testing different weapons. And if you've ever felt bad for protecting yourself, this is probably why. A lot of people think guilt trips are obvious, dramatic, almost cartoonish. But real manipulation usually sounds familiar, reasonable, disappointed, caring, or hurt at first. It sounds like someone reminding you how much they did for you. It sounds like, after everything I've done, this is how you treat me. It sounds like silence right after you say no, so you start chasing peace. And for a long time, maybe that worked on you more than you admitted. Maybe you overexplained, softened your answer, called back quickly, or gave in just enough. Not because you were weak, but because you were trying to keep things calm. You were trying to avoid tension, protect the relationship, and stop that sinking feeling. That doesn't make you gullible. It makes you someone who cared about peace. But manipulative people read that care like access and access like permission. So when you stop folding, they don't experience a boundary. They experience lost leverage. That is the moment everything starts getting weird, and weird for very specific reasons. First, they often act shocked, as if your limit came out of nowhere. Never mind the months or years of exhaustion that led you there. They'll say, "Wow, you've changed." Like change itself is some kind of betrayal. But usually you didn't become cold. You became less reachable through guilt. And that's important, because you need to hear what you changed really means. You changed means you stopped volunteering for emotional labor that was never returned. You changed means you notice every conversation somehow ended with your apology. You changed means their old script suddenly stopped landing, and that unsettled them. Healthy people might not love every boundary, but they can still respect one. They may feel disappointed, ask a question, or need time, but they adjust. Toxic people treat your limit like an insult because it blocks their access. It blocks convenience, control, emotional dumping, last-minute demands, or the pleasure of making you bend. So after guilt stops working, they usually move into pressure disguised as pain. They become wounded in ways designed to make you feel suddenly responsible again. A parent might sigh and say, "I guess I just don't matter anymore." A boss might text late, then act disappointed when you answer the next morning. A friend might say, "Never mind, I shouldn't have asked," after you decline. Notice the pattern. They perform hurt to reopen a door you closed. This is why weak advice like "just explain yourself more" usually backfires. With reasonable people, clarity helps. With manipulative people, extra explanation becomes material. They take your reasons, argue your reasons, then force you to defend your needs. Now you're no longer setting a limit. You're standing in court for your humanity. That is why one of the strongest phrases is simply, "That doesn't work for me." No speech, no long memoir, no trying to earn permission to protect yourself. Because the more manipulative someone is, the more they punish anything they can't debate. And when they realize debate is over, many of them switch to persistence. They repeat the ask 5 different ways, hoping one version catches her guilt. They circle back later, act casual, rewrite history, or pretend the first conversation never happened. This is not confusion. This is testing whether your no has edges. So when you say, "I already answered that," you're doing more than repeating yourself. You're teaching them your boundary still exists, even when they act like it disappeared. And yes, they may get irritated faster when repetition stops working too. That irritation matters, because anger often means they just lost a shortcut into you. Not always. Not every angry person is manipulative, and not every difficult person is toxic. But in these dynamics, sudden anger after a simple boundary usually means lost control. It means the easy version of access just got taken away today. And when control slips, some manipulative people go straight to punishment mode. The silent treatment is one of their favorites because it creates emotional withdrawal without accountability. They can say they're just taking space while making sure you feel the cold. And here's the nuance people miss. Silence is not always manipulation either. Silence can be healthy when it's used to regulate, not to punish. A healthy person says, "I need a little time," and comes back. A manipulative person disappears, stays vague, and wants you squirming in the uncertainty. They want you to rush in, apologize first, and rescue the tension. Don't rescue the silence if the silence was designed to train you. Pause. Say less. Let their discomfort belong to them for once fully. If they come back acting normal without addressing what happened, notice that too. That's another move. They skip repair and hope your relief will erase the pattern. Because for some people, your willingness to move on becomes part of the abuse cycle. Then there is fake concern, which fools people because it sounds almost loving. Suddenly they ask if you're okay, if something happened, if you're stressed lately. But the tone feels off. It doesn't feel caring, it feels investigative. That's because fake concern is often information gathering disguised as tenderness now. They want data they can use to explain your boundary away later. If you say you're overwhelmed, suddenly your limit becomes you being unstable or dramatic. If you say you're tired, they frame your distance like some temporary emotional episode. That is why sometimes the smartest answer is, "I'm fine," and keeping it moving. You do not owe personal access to people who weaponize personal information. Another thing manipulative people do is recruit witnesses once direct guilt stops landing. Suddenly, other people seem to know how hurt they are by your behavior. A sibling calls saying mom is devastated, and you're making everything harder. A coworker mentions your boss feels unsupported right after you refused another weekend demand. This is image control after private control starts failing behind the scenes. They need a story where they are caring, and you are suddenly difficult. Because if people saw the real issue, they'd have to admit your boundary made sense. So they call you selfish, cold, dramatic, ungrateful, rude, distant, or impossible. And those words hit hard when your whole life trained you to be reasonable. But notice how often difficult just means you stopped being easy to use. Selfish often means unavailable. Rude often means direct. Cold often means no longer performing comfort. Ungrateful can mean you finally noticed. Gifts with strings attached to them. That reframe matters because labels are one of manipulation's cheapest tools available. They name you wrong so you start defending yourself instead of observing them. And when you're busy clearing your name, you lose contact with your own reality. That is exactly where many viewers get stuck, especially with family systems. Because you may not be able to go fully no contact, at least not yet. And weak advice makes it sound like every problem has to end in confrontation. It doesn't. Some situations require strategy more than honesty or speech as ever. If you're dealing with a controlling parent, a retaliatory boss, or a shared workplace, you may need boundaries that are quiet, repetitive, boring, and very hard to twist. Not every truth needs to be announced to be real for you. Sometimes your power is a flat tone and a shorter answer only. "I'm available during work hours" is a boundary, not a negotiation ever. "Not this time" is a boundary, even if they sigh afterward heavily. "I'm not discussing this" as a boundary, even when they call it avoidance. My answer is the same as a boundary, especially with chronic boundary testers. And sometimes the strongest sentence in the English language is just no. No padding, no apology, no explaining your nervous system into exhaustion again. Because explanation is often how good people try to stay safe socially. But with manipulative people, over-explaining can signal that your no's still movable. And the second they sense movement, they lean harder and keep leaning. Now here's what most people miss, and this part changes everything later. When this no longer works, their next move reveals what they valued in you. If they valued you, they adjust, even imperfectly, and learn your limits. If they valued access, they escalate, sulk, smear, punish, charm, or triangulate. That difference hurts, because it can force you to grieve the real relationship. Not the one you hoped for, the one you kept trying to earn. And that grief can make you vulnerable to one more round of guilt. Because part of you still wants the pain to mean something redeemable. You want one honest conversation, one apology, one moment where they finally get it. Sometimes that happens with emotionally immature people who are not deeply malicious. Not every difficult person is a mastermind. Some are just fragile, reactive, and avoidant. But even then, your job is not to abandon yourself to protect their feelings. Emotional immaturity explains behavior sometimes. It does not excuse ongoing damage, ever. And calculated manipulators count on your compassion even more than immature people do. They know you hate feeling cruel, so they costume control as hurt. They know you think fairness means listening one more time than another. They know if they can keep you explaining, they can keep you engaged. And engagement is often all they need to reopen the cycle again. So your goal is not winning the argument. Your goal is protecting your clarity. Clarity means seeing guilt trips as pressure, not proof of your wrongdoing. Clarity means noticing when someone's pain is real, but their behavior is still manipulative. Clarity means understanding that another person's disappointment is not automatically your responsibility. And clarity means remembering that boundaries are about your behavior, not controlling theirs. You are allowed to leave the room, end the call, or stop replying. You are allowed to become less available to what keeps hurting you. You are allowed to disappoint people who benefited from your lack of limits. That does not make you mean. It makes you more honest with reality. Because peace bought by self-betrayal is never really peace for you anyway. It's just tension delayed, with your body paying the interest later anyway. And the people who trained you to feel guilty for basic limits know that. That's why your calm no can feel so threatening to them suddenly. It exposes how much of the relationship depended on your discomfort, not their respect. And once you see that clearly, guilt starts losing its costume forever. It stops looking like conscience and starts looking like conditioning you outgrow. It stops sounding like love and starts sounding like pressure with a sad face. And when that shift happens, you become much harder to pull off center. You'll still feel things. You may still shake, second guess, or feel old guilt. But feeling guilt is not the same as obeying it any more blindly. That may be the most powerful change of all for you now. You stop treating every uncomfortable emotion like an emergency requiring surrender immediately. You let the feeling rise, and you do not hand it the steering wheel. That pause alone will change your relationships more than another perfect explanation ever could. Because manipulative people feed on urgency, confusion, and your need to fix the mood. When you slow down, they lose one of their biggest advantages immediately. So the next time someone acts hurt because your boundary blocked their access, don't rush to explain, apologize, soothe, or prove you're still a good person. Listen for the pattern, not just the words they choose that day. Ask yourself what they want back: closeness or control, understanding or access. Then answer from your reality, not from the panic they are trying to trigger. That might sound like, no, or not this time, or we're not doing this. It might sound like, I'm available during work hours, and then silence. It might sound like, I already answered that, with a flat, steady tone. Or it might sound like nothing at all, because not every bait deserves language. Sometimes the strongest response is ending the call before the guilt finds your throat. Sometimes it is leaving the text unanswered until your nervous system settles. Sometimes it is looking at their disappointment and refusing to turn it into self-betrayal. And if they punish you for that, believe the punishment the first time. Believe what it says about their relationship to your freedom now clearly. Because people who respect you do not need your guilt to stay connected. They may not like your boundary, but they don't weaponize your heart over it. And the people who do weaponize it are telling you something valuable. They're showing you exactly what they lose when guilt stops working. Not love, not closeness. Control, convenience, emotional access, and the power to steer you. If this hits something real for you, notice where guilt still gets automatic. That is probably the doorway someone has been using for a long time. Close it gently, clearly, and without writing a speech. Nobody honest needed. And if you want, tell me the phrase you need most right now. Or stay quiet. Practice one boundary this week and watch what it reveals. The moment guilt stops driving you, your real power finally becomes visible.